Hi, I'm Moonshay and I suck at gaming, but I'm trying to get better. There are many things that come naturally to gamers that I just don't understand because I didn't grow up playing a lot of video games. My goal is to become a good gamer by my standards, so I'm playing through a list of highly recommended games from the most trusted gamers I know. In this video, I'll be going over what I've learned from my first game, Chrono Trigger. For those of you who have played Chrono Trigger, you already know that one of the bigger obstacles of the game is the numerous boss fights you face. Most of these bosses will have some sort of gimmick or puzzle that you have to solve to beat them. One of the earlier bosses you encounter is the Dragon Tank. He has 3 separate parts that you can target: the head, body, and the wheels. The problem comes with the head that can heal the entire body. If you don't take it out first, the fight can be tough, or at least last a lot longer than it needs to. The game helps you with this puzzle by giving you a note before the fight even starts.
Dragon Tank Design Specification. The head of the tank is equipped with the capacity to repair damage done to the body. In short, your tank should be effectively invincible, provided no crazed lunatic gets the bright idea to run up and try to hack away at his head with a sword.
And naturally, as one does, I go to fight him and use none of the advice given to me.
Okay, so we need to take out the wheels, okay. Understood.
And thus, the nightmare begins. I struggle with observations. Sometimes when the answer is right in front of me, I still miss it. This is one of the things that come naturally to most gamers, which is to take in all the information on the screen. For me, sometimes that could be a lot. I'm not used to having to look out for hints. My only thought in games is to slash and pray, and that wasn't going to work for me in Chrono Trigger. Even if a player skipped over the note given the hint to attack the head, most gamers, I'm sure, would pick up on the fact that the head is healing the rest of the body because the boss gives text that clearly reads, "Head restores body." This is a feature with all bosses in the game. The text will give indicators on how to solve certain boss puzzles, declaring their attacks, what they are weak against, when their guards are down, what is causing the counterattack, and when they are charging up for an attack. This turned out to be really easy for me to pick up sometimes, but others, not so much. In the fight with the Dragon Tank, I was solely focused on my attacks and the damage being dealt to the enemy, because so far, that was the only skill I needed to progress in the game. Eventually, I did catch on to the text and decided to restart the fight going about it in the correct way, and took him out with ease. She is just going to be here the entire video. I didn't intend for my cat to be here for views. She just didn't leave. Another instance where I struggled to observe was the fight with Zombor. He has 2 areas to attack, the upper and lower body. With trial and error, you'll figure out that the top part is weak to water and shadow type attacks, and the lower part is weak to light and fire attacks. I figured out how to defeat the bottom half really easily by spamming my lightning attack and fire attack, but then I went into autopilot mode and didn't check what my attacks were actually doing to the top half. In other boss fights, I will give myself some grace because I thought they were glitches. In the fight against Ozzy, I kept seeing my cursor go over sections of the stage and didn't think anything of it. I kept wailing at him with every type of attack I could think of, and nothing seemed to work. He would always counterattack and knock out my team. Despite his text, "What are you aiming at?" I didn't catch on to what I was supposed to do. I won't be too hard on myself because this is the first instance where the stage itself was something that I could target. A lot of the fights I came across kept stumping me though, to the point where I felt like I might be in the wrong part of the game. Had my viewers not encouraged me to keep going and try new things, it might have taken me multiple hours longer in my playthrough. So, lessons to be learned from here on out. Observe the crap out of everything. There was one fight in particular though that almost made me lose it. The fight with Giga Gaia.
What is that?
This fight, I heard, had been a breaking point for most people who played Chrono Trigger. Giga Gaia doesn't mess around, and I was so discouraged in my fight against him that I almost gave up. You see, the puzzle with Giga Gaia is that he deals massive amounts of damage to your team. That's it. Every time I fought him, I was trying to figure out his weakness, what the gimmick was, but this one didn't have anything to figure out. This is where I learned what my next struggle was. Because there wasn't anything to figure out with Giga Gaia, the problem lay in my knowledge of what I could do. At no point did I switch out my party members to optimize their abilities against who I was fighting, and at no point did I check the type of armor I was using to help counter the attacks my opponent dealt. I had played a very defensive playstyle of reading the messages, focusing on their weaknesses, and keeping my members alive. Giga Gaia required more from me, which was an offensive playstyle. I needed to figure out a better way of dealing damage myself. Chrono Trigger has a unique ability system that, depending on who is in your party, determines what type of attacks you can do. Each character has awesome abilities they can cast on their own, but other abilities can also be accomplished with team-ups. For example, Luca by herself has a flamethrower attack she can do and target a single enemy. But if Chrono is in the fight with her, they can team up and Chrono extends a fire attack to the entire group of enemies. So, through sheer willpower and determination, I read the chat and took their advice. I changed my team to include Ayla and used her team-up attack called Falcon Strike. This attack deals massive damage to enemies in a This attack deals massive damage to enemies in a horizontal line, perfect for taking out his hands in just a few turns. This left his body to regenerate the hands, making him wide open for any attack. Once the hands regenerate, I just rinse and repeat until he died. Knowing the type of attacks I could do was one struggle. Another was knowing my equipment. In the fight against the Prominence, there are 5 floating fires that can be targeted, but only one of them will do damage to the center eye. If you hit any of the others, it does crazy fire damage to your party. The frustrating part of this fight is that there is no way of knowing which fire is the weak one. You have to hit each individual flame hoping it'll be the right one. I kept dying to this guy too, and couldn't figure out what the problem was until I was reminded that I had different equipment I could be using. Throughout the game, you can acquire all sorts of armor for your characters. The main stat... oh, she's gone. Billy, she left. The main stat that I was focused on was the defense stat. I paid little attention to the other effects the armor provided. Come to find out, this fight was practically impossible without using fire-resistant armor. In fact, after putting on the fire-resistant armor, that fight became almost unlosable because the fire attacks heal your character instead. Go figure. Needless to say, I need to work better at knowing what moves I have at my disposal, as well as keep track of the items that I pick up that might be useful later on in the game. The whole game wasn't a nightmare though. A fight I am proud of is the fight with the Golem sisters. These golems suck booty. Depending on what type of attack you use on them, they counterattack with the same type of damage. If you use physical moves, they'll strike back with an attack that always takes out half of your character's life. And once that is followed up with another attack, your character is just dead. I had to spend more time reviving my allies. I never really had the chance to attack them. Given this was before I was thinking about what type of armor resist I could be using, I had another strategy I happened upon. Because I spent so much time reviving my teammates and not attacking, I decided that an easier route for me to go was to only use one character. When I used Marl to attack with her ice ability, the damage the Golem sisters would do in response was so low that I just let my other teammates die. So I only had to worry about Marl. I would heal her when she got low, and then I would just spam an ice attack until they died. I could tell this was not the natural approach to this fight, but it was my own way of tackling them, and I'm proud of that. That wasn't my only shining moment in my playthrough. Funny enough, I beat the final boss Lavos on my first try. He has 3 separate phases to fight, and I took all 3 of them on like a champ. It was awesome to feel like everything I had learned culminated in a final fight that, although I was super stressed about, ended up being the best I've played the whole game. So, in review, there are 3 notes I have for myself to take with me into future games. Number 1, work on observation skills. Puzzles and games require you to know all the information given. If I haven't figured it out, there must be something I missed, or I am interpreting it incorrectly. Number 2, working on familiarizing myself with abilities and equipment. My abilities and equipment are my tools to solve problems. If I don't know them well, then I am missing out on possible answers to puzzles or even playstyles that can make the game more fun. And lastly, number 3, if something isn't working, pivot. Some obstacles will be much harder than others. If what I've been doing isn't working, I need to be open to changing how I approach the game in hopes of learning new solutions to my obstacles. Chrono Trigger was nothing like I thought it would be. mostly because I didn't know what to expect. But it turned out to be a game that really impressed me. I didn't even talk about the story and how enveloped I became in it. The moments that left me in tears and suspense about what would come next. I'm glad to have had this experience. I just want to thank everyone who watched my playthrough. If it weren't for them, I would still be trying to get into a car that I obviously couldn't get into because I didn't have the stupid keys. It was a great first game to my series, and if you guys are interested in following my journey, subscribe and turn on notifications. If you want to watch my live streams, you can follow me on Twitch at Moonshay. I currently stream every Monday and Wednesday at around 8 p.m. PST. If you relate at all to some of the experiences I had in the game, or want to leave a game recommendation down below, leave a comment down below, and I will respond to all of them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next game. Bye!
It's covered in Disney fun and glitter and I landed there! I landed! All of a sudden? Do you guys see how fast I did that? Are you kidding? Oh, get me. I'm going to get up there. You have to let me up there, dude. Oh my